Good morning. It should be Sunday that you're getting this in your email. If you're on YouTube, who knows? But the purpose of this video is to just take a deep breath. I want to introduce myself again for the 900th millionth time. I want to focus. I want to talk about why we even watch videos. And I want to take a deep breath and begin again. What do I mean by that? If you've watched me over the years, you know that I constantly have these, I'm quitting, I'm starting, I'm quitting, I'm starting, I'm not talking about this anymore. I'm exhausted with myself. And you'll notice that I've changed my title multiple times. And right now I'm titled under Jill's Journals, and I'm like, why don't I ever talk about journaling anymore? So I've spent, I would say, the last few years really trying to figure out what I am here to talk about, and very much in the last 6 months trying to focus what I talk about. And like you, I am overwhelmed with all the information that's going on out and about in the world right now, as we're in this moment of time, which is September 2024, this radical countdown to the end of the world as we know it. It doesn't mean it's going to be catastrophic, but it does mean things are changing at such an accelerated pace, and with the amount of uncertainty being laid out in front of us, it's hard to know what to focus on, how to be accountable, and can we have hope? And so those are the 3 things I've tried to do with us here for the last few weeks, months, 6 weeks, over at my Substacks, link below. And, all I've managed to do is pretty much crash YouTube down to the infinity zero rate. So here we go again. But the good news is that I truly believe we're in a magnificent moment of time and change. And it's getting harder than ever to know what to focus on in an era of so much information and this constant vying for our attention. The critical mistakes I have made over these years, decade now plus, is I'm all over the place. I like to talk about survival, and I traveled and nomad and RV, and what does it mean to be safe. I've launched into storytelling vlogs. I've talked about living in the country. I just all over the place. And I've sort of shifted in the last good chunk of time away from the physical over into the more emotional and the spiritual, talking about deep questions, reflective thinking, processing, and totally not connecting. And so I took a break in my own mind, and I thought, what do I love about video making? And I had watched a lot of my old videos, and I am, again, all over the place. But my favorite part about video and creating on this personally, at this level, on this format, is the style that made me happiest is when I would take a lot of random content and I would make you a story. And I would do some editing that was a lot of fun, and I would add in some music, and nobody else really connected with that. But the truth is nobody connected with me, because there's lots of people using that same format that I didn't invent, but I was an early adopter to, doing it really well and being very successful. The problem is, it wasn't about anything that made sense to anybody at any moment in time. And so I love taking a lot of pieces and putting them together and creating a story. I've learned over my decades that that is the creativity and the art that makes me happiest, is to find the story in a lot of different areas. And what is the theme? How do I weave with that one idea? And so these last few months I've been looking at all the things I've talked about over the years and the decades plus, before there was even internet. And I finally was able to come up with a story that I could tell that was unique and my own in my voice with you. But the only piece I'm not really clear about is this multiple format, multiple avenue style we've got going. Audio, video, writing, my desire to go more analog, and social media, and all this different stuff, with censorship, and, even though you subscribe, you don't get notification, and how do you capture people's attention? Because if you want to tell a linear story, head explode, insert that here, right? And so I don't have those pieces worked out yet. I have a lot of ideas going. So at this point, I just wanted to refocus and say that we're in this transformative moment. And so for any of you who are still listening, the thing I most want to do with us here and myself with you is to really start telling the story that I just came up with. And how can I include all those pieces from the past and all the pieces I want to go in the future in a way that makes sense. But before that's going to happen, I think there's going to be a lot of blurting of other ideas and different styles and more confusion. So heads up, warning zone. I'm going to be back to experimenting a little bit, because what I love to do is very time consuming, and realistically with my lifestyle, I'm not sure how much of that I can actually do. But I like to over explain, and I don't even want to do that anymore. So we've already gone on kind of long for me in terms of what I'd like to go moving forward in the future. But this is Sunday for those of us who are at Substack. This is my hope and my dream and my heart, is that we don't let ourselves get carried away by everything that's going on out in the world, and that we take this moment and we refocus on what we value and what's important, what we do well, and you'll hear this word quite a bit, what is our wisdom? Because most of the people watching are like me. We're in the second half of our life, and we aren't out in the world trying to seek what we can become. It's time to look in and see who we really are, and what are our gifts that we're here to share. And how do we even do that? And that's the question, I've been wrestling with, because we're in this pinball moment, and I've gotten, particularly irritated lately with this, because we're in a fear zone, and we're, threatened of war, and the lights going out, and all these things I've talked about for years and years and years. But, I'm hearing people talk about things to grab your attention, but they are totally impractical and unhelpful. And it's such an integral part of my story to live more like human was designed, at the blueprint level, at the survival level, at the primal level, and how much I've learned that I really want to start weaving that back in. And, the capper was this morning, as I heard somebody talking about how, if something happens, you need to get water, right? You need to save water in your bathtub because you need a lot of water to flush a toilet. And I'm thinking, if you don't have any water, the last thing you want to do is flush water down the toilet. Because most people don't even know how much water they actually use. The average American, last time I looked, was 144 gallons a day. I've lived without plumbing for so long, I can tell you down to the probably milliliter how much water I use in a day, and how much I need to survive, and what is luxury. Because I physically carry my water every single day. So there go the dogs. They're doing high-speed internet, digging underneath the ground. So I hope you can't even hear it. But so the point being is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of grabbing your attention on a lot of wasted energy. And what I've really learned the most over the course of my life is the most valuable thing you own is your attention and your energy. And energy isn't just money. It's food, it's fuel, it's time, it's attention, it's relationships. Energy is everything. And we just waste it. And then we ask why we're so tired. So this has been such a transformative experience for me, living the way I have for the last 12, 13 years now. And I feel like I've got so much to add to the conversation, even though I've spent years talking about, things like survival and living, a mobile nomadic life, that I haven't even really scratched the surface. And I have so much old content that's really valuable. So I'm going to take a deep breath with you here. This is Sunday. Let us take one day out of the week. Let us harness our focus and our attention. Let us hold ourselves accountable to moving forward in a way that works for us. It just doesn't exhaust us. And let's make it count. Let's make it have meaning. Let's do something that creates hope, not just for us, but for others. Because in times of crisis, in times of war, in times of darkness, I would much rather be that light than just another raindrop on a very oversaturated parade. So it's a deep breath that we can do that can center us. And it's a moment in time where we can decide who we want to be in this sort of sea and storm of chaos. And my goal, whether I'll meet it or not, I don't know, is to stop. This is where I'm stuck. So these are my journals. They're spiral notebooks, and these are what I call my purge journals, which means I blurt and I get all my energy of chaos and confusion and processing onto paper so I can let it go. But what I've noticed is I am putting so much information into my purge process that is being wasted on a page I'm never going to look at again. When in this moment of time, we need to take a breath and take a beat and really recenter, ideally multiple times a day, preferably once every 24 hours. The minimum once a week, which is what I'm trying to create this space on Sunday mornings, is 4. Because a lot of us don't go to church. A lot of us don't have a religious practice. Even though we're spiritual, we don't have a focusing practice. Even though we're smart, we don't have a timeout. Even though we're super practical and logical, we don't just take that time to refocus and decide how I'm going to move myself forward today, tomorrow, this week, this year, and if we're lucky, this decade. There's so much going on. So I want to bring myself back into focus. I want to re-begin telling an old story in a way I don't have the form for, but I have so much information that I'm trying to condense down, I can't even get started. So I'm going to try to start sharing with you in multiple formats. Let's see if anything takes hold. And do we really want to know what survival is? Because for me, that is truly what it means to be human: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And the key forms I want to participate in is the journaling process and what storytelling really is. Because we are, as humans, wired to learn best through a story, not a lecture, or experience, which then becomes a story. We have an ancient knowing in our bones that our greatest exchange communally and generationally was sitting around a campfire where the old wise people told stories. Now we have something very different. But the secret to all of that was the story, not the form. And what's missing is the quality and the message in the story. Instead of just trying to grab your attention so you will watch, I'm asking us to be more thoughtful and to really focus on how we're sharing our story by what we say, what we think, what we do, how we act, how we pray, how we feel, all of the things that we're doing, that we're contributing to the overall story that we're all part of. And here I am. I've carried on too long. So with that, I'm going to take a deep breath with you. For the future, I'm going to try to keep these a lot shorter because this is ridiculous. And most people aren't still here. So with that, I hope to continue to see you here in this process over visually on YouTube. Ideally, if you want this in your email to be reminded to refocus every Sunday morning, Substack, and even if you subscribe, if you hit the bell, you still might get these videos, but you know, they just keep unsubscribing everybody, so what do you do? But I hope you have a fabulous day. I want to say thank you to the few of you, 2 of you, however many are that are still following me in this process. And here we go again. Let's put some new energy into it. That's my goal, is to refocus myself, tell a better story, and maybe someday we'll get this right. Because my YouTube journey has been a whole story in and of itself. Deep breath, my friends, and I will see you next time.